love you, Cleveland.
I love you, Cleveland. And I love you, Ohio. And a very pleasant welcome to this week's version of Bonus Time with Drennan here on the Big Play Sports Network. Hi, I'm Bruce Drennan along with Ryan Smith. Great to have you aboard. Let me start by saying Merry Christmas and especially Happy Hanukkah in light of all the anti-Semitism that is going on in our country and around the world. Happy Hanukkah. All right, good to have you aboard. We've got plenty to cover. As you can see, I am not live in the studio, as we informed you last week. I'm coming your way from the Florida Keys in Marathon, where my wife Jackie and I are dwelling here for the Christmas season. Delightfully so. Hate to rub it in, but yesterday was 76 degrees without a cloud in the sky, man.
Well, I'm doing good, Bruce, but certainly not as good as you. I'm holding it down here at Burke Lakefront Airport at our Big Play studios, where I need a crew neck and a jacket at the very least, Bruce. So to say I'm jealous would be an understatement, but I was there a couple weeks ago, so I can't be too upset.
I've got some points to make about the Browns' loss to the Chicago Bears, but again, being here in the Keys, we got here last Saturday, and this is part of the Miami market. So we did not get the feed of the Browns game here in the Keys. You shouldn't be surprised. It wasn't exactly the most marquee matchup on the board this last weekend. So I'm depending on you here, Ryan, to fill me in. I must say I was glad to see that Garrett got a sack and a half. So now he's got 21 and a half for the season, just one shy of the record of Strahan and Watt. And he has at least one sack now in 8 straight games. Four-time All-Pro is phenomenal. Sanders came crashing down to earth, I guess, 18 of 35, 177, 3 picks, resulting in 17 points for Chicago. Quarterback rating, oh, God, 30.3. That's not a misprint, I guess. Judkins held to only 21 yards. Browns offensively held to only 192 yards. And our vaunted rush defense allowed Swift to run for 98 yards. So fill me in, Ryan. Was it as bad as all of these indicators seem to be?
Oh, Bruce, it certainly was that bad as it appeared to be on paper. Caleb Williams had one of the best days, if not of his career, to be honest with you. Certainly the best throw of his career when he scrambled outside of the pocket, threw across his body deep to DJ Moore in the end zone. The moral of the story was Browns couldn't get anything going on the ground offensively like they were last week against the Tennessee Titans, really. Or excuse me, I should say the 49ers. But the thing is, Shedeur Sanders had a couple nice scrambles. He had a couple nice deep balls to Isaiah Bond, but outside of that, there was no creative offense, Bruce. They couldn't consistently move the chains. There were continuous pre-snap penalties. They started the game with a false start, followed by a 1-yard run, I believe, followed by 12 men in the huddle. So just little things like that, Bruce. It seemed like they lost the game before they even really started. Defense gave up a lot on the ground again. DeAndre Swift, Kyle Monangai were able to each go over 50-plus yards, I believe, on the ground against the Cleveland Browns. So same old Cleveland Browns. The defense gets tired when the offense can't get going. The pre-snap penalties, and just it looked like they didn't want to be there, to be honest with you, Bruce. They looked cold, like they were ready to head to the locker room. And to be honest with you, Bruce, it looked like a lot of them were ready to pack in the season.
Fourth false starts and 12 men on the field. There's no excuse for that. I mean, false starts do occur, but to me, that's discipline. You know, you're too young to remember, but one of the most famous attributes of the great Vince Lombardi, the former coach of the Green Bay Packers, is that they had minimal penalties. Minimal. I mean, false starts were at a bare minimum, and that's execution. So that's distressing. Let me ask you this. Let me preface Stefanski's quote after the game talking about Sanders. He's a young player that is making progress, like we've talked about all week. I see it in games. I get to see it in practice. There's going to be ups and downs to young players, particularly the quarterback position. So we'll learn from it. I guess this is a learning process, and will be better next week. So what does that mean? Instead of losing 31-3, they're going to lose 28-3. I don't know what that means. Has he lost the locker room?
That's a fantastic question, Bruce. I wish I knew the answer to that. I want to say no, but at the same time, when you see players kind of out there just look like they're going through the motions, the continuous pre-snap penalties, which really have been a thing ever since Kevin Stefanski took over in Cleveland. Like, yes, they've had winning seasons and the playoff success, but every single season you've been bottom of the league in pre-snap penalties. I don't know if I want to say they lost the locker room, because when you have a young guy like Shador that's still giving juice to the room, when you have a guy like Myles Garrett still chasing history, there's still little things to fight for. But Bruce, we're looking at going into the 6th season, another 3-win season, most likely, when just before this season, you had the owner come out, not only call the biggest trade in franchise history a swing and a miss, call out last season, say 3 wins isn't going to cut it. That's not enough to follow it up again with another 3-win season. I can't imagine Kevin Stefanski can survive it if he doesn't win another game this season. And even if he does, Bruce, are we just saving him to save him, or is there actually building momentum going into the offseason?
Well, you know me, I've been preaching culture, lack of culture, winning culture. Our culture is finding ways to lose. And indeed, the over-under by Vegas for the Cleveland Browns wins this year was 4.5. We are standing at 3. We have 3 games remaining. So your assumption that we will finish with only 3 wins seems to be the case. We'll get into our predictions a little bit later, but it's a sad commentary about the so-called professional football franchise that exists in Cleveland. All right, when we come back, we'll look at the rest of the NFL. As a matter of fact, let me start right now by saying that, the Bears, no, let me finish up with the Browns. Let me do this. The Browns are one of 6 teams in the running now for the number 1 pick in next spring's draft, along with the New York Jets, Tennessee Titans, Las Vegas Raiders in the AFC. And, of course, the Browns beat the Raiders, lost to Tennessee, and New York is the other team. In the NFC, there's the New York Giants and Arizona Cardinals in contention. Did I just say contention? Listen to me. I'm making it sound like it's something good, or something to be proud of. What a complete joke. So we shall see with the Browns, but it's a sad commentary. Let's take a break. When we come back, we will look at the rest of the NFL. We've only just begun bonus time on Big Play.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Smart Choice Windows, energy-efficient products at an affordable price. Visit smartchoicewindows.com today.
All right, great to have you with us, coming your way from Marathon, Florida, and the Keys. You know, this win for the Chicago Bears over our Browns once again puts the Bears in first place in the NFC North at 10-4, ahead of Green Bay, who lost to Denver 34-26. I think it's time for me to declare the Broncos are for real and now appear to be the team to beat in the AFC. The Broncos clinched a playoff berth at 12-2 and appear to be heading to a bye in the first round with the best record in the AFC. They have won 11 in a row now. Former Oregon Duck Bo Nix was tremendous in this game. I watched it down here in Florida. He passed for 302 yards, 4 touchdowns, quarterback rating 134.7. Wow. Denver hosts Jacksonville, travels to Kansas City, and finishes at home versus the LA Chargers, who they lead by 2 in the AFC West. The loss for Green Bay not only drops them out of first place in the NFC North, but they lost superstar Micah Parsons in this game to a torn ACL in his left knee. The Packers also lost Christian Watson in this affair. He had a chest injury. The timing of these injuries couldn't have come at a worse time as Green Bay visits Chicago at Soldier Field this coming Saturday, Ryan.
Incredible week for the Broncos, just an awful week for the optics for the Green Bay Packers. For the Denver Broncos, as you mentioned, Bruce, they have a Super Bowl winning coach, a top 5 offensive line, a top 5 defense, and a quarterback that right now is playing his best football. The best game of his season, maybe his career, was against Green Bay. For Green Bay, you mentioned, you lose Micah Parsons, your superstar that you traded so much for, to a torn ACL. You lose Zach Tomlin, your best offensive, if not best offensive lineman. You lose Christian Watson, who appears he'll come back, but still, ever since he came back, he's been bona fide the wide receiver one. You lose Tucker Kraft early in the season to a torn ACL. You wonder if that Micah Parsons injury is really going to cost him the opportunity to go compete in the postseason. I think that is going to be the case, and it's one of those things. You take a giant swing. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Luckily, with modern medicine, and for Micah Parsons, he's still young. They'll have the opportunity to come back next year. I don't want to write him off yet, though, because they are talented.
LA Chargers 16, Kansas City 13. Not only does this loss eliminate the Chiefs from any playoff possibility this year, but superstar quarterback Patrick Mahomes tore the ACL in his left knee and is lost for the remainder of the season. Is this the end of the Kansas City dynasty? This is the first time since 2014 that the Chiefs won't be in the postseason, and their 10-year playoff streak was second longest in the NFL, behind only the New England Patriots, who had 11 in a row from 2009 through 2019. This will be the first postseason Mahomes will miss in his 9-year career. Kansas City has won 9 AFC West titles, 3 Super Bowls. Kelsey didn't speak after the game. Speculation is that he will retire, probably live off of the money Taylor Swift makes.
You know, Bruce, some very odd and strange parallels between Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, the comparison within the game, they're both monumental quarterbacks, phenomenal, generational. And, you know, Patrick Mahomes is the closest thing that we've seen to being on track to Tom Brady's greatness. They both tear their ACL in their 9th season, both coming off Super Bowl losses. You never want to see an injury happen. I know a lot of people are happy that the Chiefs aren't in the playoffs, but the moment like this makes you appreciate greatness, right? I don't want to say the dynasty's over. They're certainly going to have to retool it a little bit. They're going into a new era, but Patrick Mahomes will be back, Bruce, but it's crazy to think the amount of superstars that we lost to major injuries this season so far.
Yeah. Meanwhile, for Jim Harbaugh's Chargers, they are now 10-4 and very much in the playoff picture. They finished the regular season, though, at Dallas, home to Houston, and at Denver. They still have a chance to win the division if they run the table, because they beat Denver in their first meeting. Houston 40, Arizona 20. The Texans may be the hottest team right now in the entire NFL. They've won 6 games in a row. And at 9-5, only a game behind front-running Jacksonville, who had an easy 48-20 trouncing of the New York Jets. Quarterback Trevor Lawrence threw 5 touchdown passes and posted a fabulous quarterback rating, 136.7. Back to Houston, though. Texas quarterback C.J. Stroud was equally brilliant as Lawrence. The former Buckeye, 22 of 29, 3 touchdown passes, and a rating of 137.1. The 2 division rivals split their 2 meetings this year. The remaining schedule for Houston has a tough challenge at L.A. versus the Chargers. And up next for Jacksonville is a trip to Denver. Any thoughts there, Brian?
For Houston Texans, they got one of the best defense, if not the best defense right now in the NFL. Earlier in the season, I think they were 1-4 at one point, 1-5, something along those lines. And they've continued to do nothing but improve and beat good teams along their way, and they've earned what is going to be their postseason berth once they finally clinch it. For the Jaguars, I got to give them credit as bad and as down as I've been on them this year. Trevor Lawrence with his best performance of his career so far, 6 total touchdowns against the Jets. I know it's the Jets, but it's never easy to throw 6 touchdowns. I give them credit. Right now, that Browns pick in the first round isn't looking good. I think right now 28th would be the Jaguars pick, so maybe not getting a top-tier talent there like we thought we might, but I still have them as a first-round postseason exit, Bruce.
Buffalo 35, New England 31. What a game. They fed that game to us down here. I watched the whole thing. This is the AFC East showdown was a story of New England winning the first half, leading 24-7 at the break, and the second half, the Bills outscoring New England 28-7. Drake May was fabulous in the first half, and Josh Allen was fabulous in the second half. Buffalo's James Cook rushed for 107 yards, and New England's Travion Henderson, out of Ohio State, of course, rushed for 107 yards, or 155 yards, I should say. This loss for New England still keeps them in first place in the AFC East at 11-3. But for Buffalo, this was almost a must-win to keep their playoff hopes alive. Now at 10-4, Buffalo still has to play Philadelphia. New England will visit Baltimore on Sunday, Ryan.
You know, Bruce, I'm not sure there's one person heading into this postseason that has more to prove than Josh Allen. This is finally the year where he's going to go into the playoffs. Now, he still has a chance to win the East and have home field advantage throughout, but even if he gets in as a wild card, Josh Allen finally has a chance to go through the postseason without facing Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. He'll be the most experienced quarterback in the AFC head into these playoffs without a doubt. It almost seems like this is the year for his legacy, that if he wants to get it done, he'll be able to do it. Will that happen? I don't know, but I'm not sure there'll ever be a better chance for Josh Allen to finally put those Bills fans out of their misery and hoist a Lombardi trophy, maybe for the rest of his career.
Right. Speaking of Baltimore, they had no problem beating Cincinnati 24-0 and thus keep their playoff hopes alive at 7-7. How about the LA Rams 41, Detroit 34? This was another game that was a story of two different halves. Detroit led 24-17 at the half, and LA outscored the Lions 24-10 in the second half. At one point, the Rams trailed by 10 points. That's their largest deficit of the year. And a quarterback, the former Lion, Matthew Stafford, led the comeback, passing for 368 yards, 2 touchdowns. Meanwhile, former Rams quarterback Jeff Goff threw for 338 yards and 3 TDs, and the Lions fall to 8-6 and are now in jeopardy of not making the playoffs. The Lions still must face AFC North leader Pittsburgh and finish the regular season at Chicago. The Rams are currently the number 1 seed in the NFC. However, they must visit Seattle tomorrow night in a big showdown in the NFC West. Both teams enter the game at 11-3, and Seattle spoiled Phillip Rivers' Cinderella comeback story as their kicker, Jason Myers, kicked a franchise record 6 field goals, including a 56-yarder with only 29 seconds to go to give them the win. Phillips played surprisingly well at 44 years old, but the better team prevailed in this game. And the Carolina Panthers came crashing down to earth with an embarrassing 20-17 loss to the lowly New Orleans Saints. The loss prevents the Panthers from taking advantage of Tampa Bay's loss last Thursday night to Atlanta. Both teams are now 7-7 in the weak NFC South. The two will meet in the 2 of their last 3 games to determine who's going to make the playoffs as the division champs. And finally, Pittsburgh 28, Miami 15. Coming your way from here in Marathon, Florida, in the Keys, this is Dolphins country. We get Miami television, and the natives are very restless. Not only were the Dolphins supposed to make the playoffs this year, led by highly paid quarterback Tua, but to make matters worse, this loss eliminates them from the playoffs. And to make matters worse, they lost to us. As a matter of fact, we murdered them 31-6, you'll recall. What an insult that is to Dolphins fans. So you can imagine why they are calling for head coach Mike McDaniel's job. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh did what they were supposed to do, taking care of business and improving to 8-6, winning their game, and of course staying ahead of Baltimore here in the AFC North. Any final thoughts before we go to break, Ryan?
I bet the Lions wish they were playing in the AFC North, Bruce. Their defense is going to cost them probably a playoff spot. Matthew Stafford probably has the opportunity to lock up MVP on Thursday night if he goes ahead and beats the Seahawks and put up a formidable stat line. Panthers, they had the opportunity to go ahead and almost seal this thing. All they had to do was win that, and then against Tampa Bay, we'll see who wins that division. And the Steelers, looks like they're going to win the AFC North again, Bruce, despite not being a good team, but somebody from this division has to get into the playoffs. We'll see what that crucial Week 18 game against the Ravens has in store for us. Maybe that'll decide it, but right now it looks like the Steelers, with Mike Tomlin, after calling him to be fired, will once again head to the postseason. But the question is, Bruce, will they actually win a postseason game?
All right, when we come back, we'll take a look at how we did with handicapping with the spread. Ryan and I continue. Bonus time with Drennan, Big Play Sports Network, brought to you by our good friends at FanDuel.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Garage Beer. No bitterness, no frills, no IPA, just beer-flavored beer. Find local retailers who sell garage beer near you by visiting drinkgaragebeer.com.
All right, let's continue with bonus time with Drennan here on the Big Play Sports Network. This is our handicapping segment where Ryan and I predict the toughest games forthcoming in the NFL schedule. Last week, we both went 2-3 against the spread. I always choose the toughest games, the most marquee matchups of the week. Oh, shut up, phone. So on the season, I'm 39-45. I'm not happy with that. Ryan, 35-36. And when Ryan has been off a couple of times, Pat McGuire has come in here and posted a 10-3 record. Hello. All right, let's get right to it. The Browns are getting 10 points at home against Buffalo. This is an easy pick for me. I got to go Buffalo Bills, especially after their big win against New England, Ryan.
I want a reason to say the Browns are good enough to lose by less than 10, but I can't do it. Josh Allen's going to come in. He still wants to win the AFC East. This is going to be a bloodbath. Give me the Bills.
All right. The LA Rams are getting 1.5 at Seattle. This is a big showdown in the NFC West. Your pick.
Yeah, I'm going Seattle in this one. I would pick them to straight up win this one. Rams, phenomenal team, but they're going to be without Devontae Adams, their biggest red zone threat. Seahawks defense has been amazing. They're even better at home, Bruce, when they play. The Seahawks nearly beat the Rams earlier this season in LA. Had Sam Darnold not been horrible and throw 4 interceptions, that game probably would have been won by the Seahawks. And in fact, it was only lost by, I believe, 3, and they had the opportunity to go ahead and win it or tie it on a game-winning field goal. So I think this time around, the Seahawks get the best of the Rams.
I don't think the Rams should be getting points from anybody in the entire NFL, so I'll take the 1.5 with the LA Rams. Green Bay is minus 1.5 at Chicago against the Bears. I like the Bears, especially without with the injuries that big one to Parsons.
I agree with you, Bruce. I'm on the Bears in this one. They're one of the hotter teams in the NFL right now. Caleb Williams coming off his best career game. Ben Johnson has the run game going. He has some of the best run schemes I've seen in the NFL. Micah Parsons, losing him, that's an emotional tear. I got to go with the Bears in this one.
Tampa Bay's the favorite on the road against Carolina. Big showdown in the NFC South. Tampa Bay is giving the Panthers 3. Your choice first.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, Bruce, but I'm going against the Buccaneers. I think the Panthers go ahead and win this one. They're riding an emotional high. I know they lost last week, but to even be in this position for an opportunity to go ahead and win the AFC South, I think, or the NFC South, is incredible. Baker right now isn't playing too well. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers in general aren't playing too well at home in Carolina this time around. I'll take the Panthers to go ahead and win this one.
I agree with you. And as I've said, even when Baker Mayfield was here in Cleveland, he's a winner. He's not a champion. He's a good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback. I'm going against Baker in this game. Jacksonville is getting 3 at Denver. And even though I predicted that Jacksonville will win the AFC South, I've got to go Denver here. They appear to be clearly the best team in the AFC, Ryan.
Yeah, I'm going with the Denver Broncos, too. They need to win this one because they're looking ahead at sights. They want that number 1 seed overall. Broncos have been a team of kind of, well, they win despite themselves. They barely win these close games. Last week, they kind of spun that on its head and beat Green Bay convincingly. I think they keep that momentum going at home, and they beat Jacksonville and cover.
I'm a little surprised that Pittsburgh is getting 7 at Detroit. If you take Detroit, it's minus 6.5. Your choice on this one.
Yeah, I'm going Lions all day in this one to win by a touchdown, Bruce. Lions at home average over 30 points. If I'm not mistaken, they're one of the best offenses when they play at Ford Field. Steelers defense has been a little bit better as of late, but they haven't faced an offense recently like they have the Detroit Lions have. I don't think they have nearly enough offensive firepower to keep up with Detroit. I think they win this one easily.
A lot of points. I'll take the 7 in Pittsburgh. New England is getting 3 at Baltimore. I got to go Patriots and Coach Vrabel to bounce back.
Yeah, I'm going to go with New England as well. I think they're the much better team. Right now, Drake May, as crazy as it seems, right now is playing better than Lamar Jackson, a 2-time MVP. Right now, Baltimore's defense, I still don't believe in them, even though they came off the win in a shutout. I'm still going with New England to win this one and cover.
And finally, San Francisco is minus 5.5 at Indianapolis. Your thoughts with Phillip Rivers and company?
Yeah, give me the 49ers all day in this one. I'm not putting currency on a 44-year-old quarterback with 12 children.
I agree. When we come back, Jack O'Rourke from the Big Factor is coming our way to talk about the college football playoffs and more. That's next. Bonus time with Drennan here on the Big Play Network, brought to you by FanDuel. Jack O'Rourke is another one of the fine young talents that we feature here on the Big Play Sports Network. And we welcome him to Bonus Time with Drennan. Want to get Jack on. He's a big college football freak like yours truly. Jack, how you doing, buddy? Welcome.
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on today, Bruce. Great to talk to you. Hope you're staying warm down there. And marathon it is, right?
Yeah, marathon
Awesome.
in the Florida Keys right before you get to 7 Mile Beach and head over to Key West.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, Jack, I wanted you on the show today because I know you're vociferous as far as the college football playoffs, and I know that you monitored our show last week and saw and heard what I had to say about the selection committee. Let's get your take.
Yeah, I don't know. So to preface for people as well, I'm a Notre Dame fan. So it wasn't a very happy day. That's the first thing I can say. But there's two lanes I look at it with, Bruce. And the first is just like how much of a disgrace it is from the College Football Playoff Committee overall, because whether you put Notre Dame in or not, that's one thing. But to make a mockery, I guess, of the system, I believe that was the word you used last week, Bruce. Hunter Yurachek just coming on these shows every single week, coming out like you had 9 chances at any point throughout the season to say, okay, Miami is ahead of Notre Dame. They beat them head to head, week 0, week 1, whatever it was. If these teams are next to each other at the end, we're going to put Miami ahead of them. Tie goes to the runner at first base, right? That's the way it always goes. That's what would make sense. But no, for the TV, for the ratings, whatever it may be, Yurachek and the committee decide week after week to come out, put Notre Dame like 8 spots ahead of Miami at the start, and then slowly knocking teams off one by one all the way until the Tuesday show, you're still ahead of them. So as a Notre Dame fan, you're thinking, okay, hey, we're good to go. Last second, rug gets swept out from under you. Even though Alabama loses by, 55 to Georgia in the SEC title game, like for some reason, Notre Dame doesn't find their way in. And Bruce, I think it was a better Notre Dame team this year than last year.
Yeah. I said that last week, Jack. And it's not that, as I pointed out, it's not that I don't believe Miami deserves to be in. I do. And I think that victory against Notre Dame in game 1 should mean something. But my problem is Alabama. They are a 3-loss team that got trounced by Georgia in the championship. If the conference championship games are to mean something, and then go after Texas. They have 3 losses, and they beat undefeated Texas A&M.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's such a double standard, too, if you look at the way that just conference to conference, whatever. It is so evident that the SEC is paramount number 1 above everyone else in terms of importance. Number 2 is Big Ten, and you just go on down from there. Because if you look at the way that you take Texas Tech, for example, or BYU rather, BYU loses to Texas Tech, who is 1 spot behind Georgia, right? It's the 3 seed and the 4 seed. Texas Tech blew out BYU twice. BYU has no other losses besides that. I'm not saying BYU should be in the playoffs necessarily, but how does BYU get blown out by the number 4 team and get dropped 2 spots by the committee in the last week of the year, and the number 3 team blows out Alabama and they stay put? Like, if anything, you have to give that same precedent to BYU, right?
How about, to add to that, they kept referring this Hunter character, again, very prejudiced in favor of the SEC, as you pointed out. He said, well, the bottom line, Miami beat Notre Dame. What about Florida State beating Alabama and beat them by 2 touchdowns? They totally ignored that.
No, absolutely. And that's just like the whole making everyone go back. Like Hunter Yurachek goes out his way like, yeah, you have to go back week 1, watch Notre Dame, Miami. There's other week 1 games to watch, right? There's other games from throughout the season. I just think the handling of it was so crazy. And like the way the ACC comes out and tweets out about why Miami should be in over Notre Dame so many times. And I'm like you, Bruce, where absolutely Miami should get in over Notre Dame. They're at the same point, head to head. You beat them, right? You got to put them through. But the way that Miami, the ACC network, played the game 13 times in that last week, they put out the tweets about it, and now they're upset that Notre Dame is mad that they were they're just going to bat against Notre Dame 24/7. I don't get it. And Bruce, I really do see a world that you guys talked about on the show last week, and I agree with you that I'm so for Notre Dame pulling out of the bowl game. Like the way the NCAA took money out of your pockets, ESPN, whatever, do not put it back into theirs. I am a firm believer in that. I want to call for them to leave the ACC within the next 4 to 5 years.
You just took the words out of my mouth. I wish there was an alternative. There is, I guess, if you consider the Big Ten, but that independent television contract that Notre Dame has enjoyed forever in football. So they need to accommodate their other sports. But as I pointed out last week, Jack, even as unfair as it is that Alabama got in over Notre Dame, none of this would have happened if they didn't have this ridiculously stupid group of five rule that you've got to have a group of five conference champion in. And this year they make matters worse by putting two of them in. I pointed out last week that James Madison's opponents had a combined record of 74 and 80. And if you take away the three teams that had winning records, Louisville, Old Dominion, and Troy, the opponents of James Madison had a combined record, Jack, of 49 and 71. And they're one of the top 12 teams in the country, according to the committee. That's disgraceful.
No, 100%. And I think there are some good things out of it, too. Like, I think there are some players on James Madison and Tulane that everyone around the country will get to learn this weekend. But there's also a massive difference between a couple of guys who can go out there and do it and compete at this level. Like, Wayne Knight was a 1,300-yard running back for James Madison. Like, he might break a carry or two against Oregon because Oregon doesn't have a great front seven. But at the end of the day, James Madison's a team who got sacked 6 times by Louisville. When they played Louisville earlier this year, they are not going to compete. And yeah, it's a total... If there's gonna be a group of 5 team who is good enough to be in the playoffs, they can still make it on their own accord in this format without having needing that group of 5 bid. Like, if you look at the 06 Fiesta Bowl is a game that people call out all the time when why do we need to have the group of 5s in? Like, Boise State, the cool whatever play, fake the handoff, go run around against Oklahoma, win the game, right? Like, that'll happen. Like, that will happen if the teams are good enough to be there. But we saw it last year. Ashton Genty, like one of the most generational group of 5 players I can remember. Right. What happened when they made it to the playoffs? They got skunked in State College.
Yeah. Right. And I said the only way to rectify this, have these schools schedule a power in Alabama, Notre Dame, and Ohio State early in the season in a non-conference game, and they got to beat them. They've got to beat them and then run the table in their weak conference. And then I say, absolutely, we welcome you to the college football.
Well, Bruce,
playoff.
let me ask you. Well, did you not see enough from the 45-10 thrashing that Ole Miss gave Tulane to want to see it again?
Yeah. I'm amazed that the line in that game is only 16.5. I'm amazed that Vegas only made it 16.5. And, of course, James Madison is 21.5 point underdog in the game against Oregon. So we shall see. Listen, before I let you go, I want to ask you about the Sharon Moore scandal in Michigan. Any take on that, Jack?
Yeah, I think you've reached a point as a program where you need to tear everything down to the studs. It already seems like it's going that direction, Bruce, but the way things have just devolved in the later stages of the Harbaugh era, like, it's a total... At what cost? Like, they did get that title, but it is like, does the end justify the means, right? Like, there are so many mistakes going back through Stallions. Bruce, I want to look at the 2 offensive coordinators that they had. They had co-coordinators in 2022, right? You have Sharon Moore, who, as we recently learned, is a butter knife yielding human being who will go around and yell at someone who he had a extramarital affair with while he had 3 children. And Matt Weiss, who was the other co-offensive coordinator, is currently sitting in jail on 20 federal charges for hacking into thousands of female college athletes and students' accounts to access their personal, intimate digital photographs and videos. So if you're looking at who was in charge of J.J. McCarthy's offense, I can see why he's struggling at the NFL level, because clearly these people had a lot going on in other walks of life, not relevant to football. And when you have this amount of just bad people moving around, and maybe not bad people, I don't know their full stories, Bruce, I'd be lying if I said I did, but you have these 2 guys, you have Stallions, you have the way that Harbaugh wiped his hand clean and went to the NFL as soon as all the things are about to drop down from the NCAA. Like, you got to go all the way clean, and it's very sad because it's a legendary program. Like, in my lifetime, have they been restricted down to the Brady Hoax and Rich Rods of the world and won 8 games? Yeah, but it's a very historic program that people love to see. The Big House is one of the most storied venues in the sport, and they got to wipe it clean, Bruce. Like, you have to find a way to get like a squeaky clean head coach, even if he's not the best guy for the job right now. You can't go into scandal after scandal after scandal and just hope people forget about the last one.
And more, of course, has got to be. He's in big trouble. I mean, there's reports that he impregnated this chief executive on the program, and then she had an abortion. I don't know if that's confirmed or not, but I know this: his wife, for right now, is standing by him. And I speculated why, and my wife said to me, that's because she wants to get her share of the money that he still has remaining coming to him. So. I guess further news on that may be forthcoming. Jack, I'm going to have you on again. Great stuff. Great work on the big factor. Keep it up, buddy. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Bruce. Honor. I used to come home from school every single day and watch you with my dad and my grandpa, so it's pretty cool to be sitting up here with you.
I love you, buddy. We'll be back with Ryan in just a minute. Bonus time with Drennan here on the Big Play Sports Network, brought to you by FanDuel. All right, winding down our first show from here in Marathon, Florida, and the Florida Keys. A couple of notes in this segment. Mendoza winning the Heisman, no surprise there, especially after the big win against Ohio State. Cavaliers at 15-12 will resume play tonight as they take on the Chicago Bulls. 10-15, they play the Bulls again Friday here in Cleveland. And aren't you excited? And didn't you enjoy all of the NBA Cup action? Wasn't that exhilarating? And the New York Knicks, I mean, who cares if they bomb again in the playoffs? Because they can always look back and say, we won the NBA Cup, Ryan.
Bruce, I was watching SportsCenter just this morning, and on the bottom ticker, it says, New York Knicks win their first NBA Cup title, and what did it say in parentheses? Have not won a championship since the 1970s. And I said, oh, well, in that case, it's all good because they won a midseason NBA Cup. Bruce, I understand what the NBA is doing by implementing this stuff, but I don't think it's hit.
It's ridiculous, and who knows about it? I mean, you know, if I didn't see that monitor every single day, what I do, I mean, you wouldn't even know that it was going on, and it's meaningless. And of course, it's money for the players, so the Players Association is going to love it. All right, when we come back, it's time for the Ask Bruce segment. That's next on Bonus Time. By all means, try to join us for next week's show, because by then we will have completed the first round of the college football playoff games, and we'll see if James Madison and Tulane indeed can compete and cover the spread, let alone pull off an upset. But I know you were monitoring, Ryan, before we get to the questions for this week, what Jack and I said about the college football playoff. Any take quickly?
I just completely agree with Jack that I understand why Miami is in over Notre Dame. I'm not going to sit here and argue that. I would sit here and argue that BYU deserves to be in too, and they're not. But for Notre Dame, here's the problem, as I mentioned. They're a team that I could actually bet money on and feel good about them winning the national championship. I don't like how during the whole selection process for weeks on and weeks on, you ranked Notre Dame above Miami. Nothing in their resumes changed, and then all of a sudden you make that flip. So I understand why the Notre Dame fans are upset. And Bruce, we know they're never going to get it right. There's always going to be upset fan bases. It's just a shame that you have Notre Dame, who easily deserve to be in, easily a top 5 team in my opinion, somehow doesn't make a top 12 playoff. Is disappointing.
And you could make a case that they were playing the best football of anybody at the end of the regular season, and would have been a threat to win the whole thing. All right, fire away.
Well, speaking of playing good football, not in this case, the Cleveland Browns. Hey Bruce, what do you think is the Browns' bigger need in the 2026 NFL draft? Is it wide receiver or offensive line?
Oh gosh, all of the above. Aren't we weak offensively, except for Judkins, and we still don't know about Sanders? So yeah, the offensive line is a joke. It starts in the trenches. You win and lose in the trenches, as they've said for decades. So I guess you got to say line, but the Browns need so much. I mean, our depth chart is a joke offensively. And I just say clean house, rebuild everything, because by the time you would build this offense back up, all the guys that are on this great defense will be older and past their prime, and then you'll have to rebuild them. It's a real catch-22 for the Cleveland Browns, unfortunately.
Already sticking with the Browns. Hey, Bruce, should Myles Garrett get that sack record against the Buffalo Bills? If you were the Browns, would you sit him the rest of the season after that?
Why would you do that?
In case of injury, if he's already got the record done, would you hold him out for the last 2 games to keep him healthy for next year?
I mean, there's pride. I mean, set the standard for any future defensive edge rushers who challenge his record. No, you don't want to deprive Garrett of really setting the bar. No way. And besides, he would really be he's got to be disgruntled as could be after being promised by the Browns that they were going to improve the offense, because, persuading him to sign the contract extension and stay in Cleveland. But that would really make him disgruntled. So no, I'd be playing.
Alrighty, hey Bruce, in the hypothetical world where the Bengals would be open to trading Joe Burrow after his recent comments about his future, if you were the Browns, would you trade 3 first-round picks for Joe Burrow?
No, I don't think you can do that, especially because it backfired so extraordinarily against us with the Watson trade. So, no, I think you've got to start anew. Let's see what we got the rest of the season with Sanders, but you've got to consider getting Mendoza or one of the other quarterbacks. I see where Manning has made a decision. Did you see that, Ryan, where he's going to stay at Texas for another year?
Well, speaking of that, Bruce, and our last question is we got just about a minute here. If you were a betting man, which I know, Bruce, we have many of bets in our life, would you bet Arch Manning or the field to win the Heisman next season?
I'll take the field. That's an easy one to answer. Although, even though he finished strong, it had to be a very disappointing season for Manning and all the Manning backers and the family. Although it'll be interesting to see how he does against Michigan. That's the most attractive non-college football playoff bowl game, if you will. So it is that one I think is worth watching. And I hope you feel that our show is worth watching, and you will join us next week. As I said, we've got a lot to talk about, that's for sure. And that's all the time we have for this version of Bonus Time with Drennan here on the Big Play Sports Network, brought to you by our good friends at FanDuel. I'm Bruce Drennan on behalf of Brian Smith. Thanks to Jack O'Rourke for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the show. See you next week. Until then, as always, and most importantly, you remember, I love you, Ohio. And I love you, Cleveland.
We'll be right back.